The Sahara, the largest desert on Earth. Year after year, it captures more and more kilometers. Where fields once stood, sand now lies, and millions of people lose their homes and livelihoods. To push back against the desert, Africa decided on an incredible project. 20 nations, 8,000 kilometers of travel from Senegal to Djibouti. Their plan? To build a wall, but not of stone and concrete, but of living trees. A colossal green wall. It sounds grand, but does it show results? And what has become of the desert after 20 years? Subscribe to the channel. It will be interesting. The Sahara, it is not just a desert. It is the most extensive waterless space on the entire planet. Its area exceeds 9 million square kilometers. For clarity, that is about as much as China occupies. But the most frightening thing is not its current size, but the fact that it continues to expand. Every year, the desert devours new lands. South of the Sahara lies the Sahel region, a wide strip of land from the Atlantic Ocean to the shores of the Red Sea. This is where, for centuries, millions of people lived, grazed livestock, tilled fields, and fed their families. Even half a century ago, forests hummed in the Sahel. Rivers flowed and pastures turned green. But gradually, everything began to change. Droughts became longer, rains shorter. Trees were cut down for fuel, and the soil was exhausted by continuous grazing. The desert moved forward, and no one could stop it. In the 70s and 80s of the last century, the Sahel experienced several brutal droughts. Millions of livestock perished, crops burned up, people died of hunger. Television reports circled the world, and humanity realized for the first time that the desert is capable of destroying entire nations. That was when the thought was born. What if we create a protective barrier? Not a stone wall, but a living barrier of trees. The first ideas appeared back in the 60s, however. They were only taken seriously in the early 2000s when it became obvious that without decisive steps, the Sahel was doomed. In 2007, the African Union officially launched a project called the Great Green Wall. 20 states joined it: Senegal, Mauritania, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and others. The total length of the future strip of trees will be 8,000 kilometers. The width of this green strip should reach 15 kilometers. If the project is completed, it will become the largest living structure created by human hands. Larger than the Great Wall of China, larger than any other creation in the entire history of humanity. The design is simple but brilliant. Trees hold the soil with their roots. They accumulate moisture, create shade, and cool the air near the ground surface. Where trees grow, the wind weakens and is no longer able to drive waves of sand. Gradually, humus accumulates around the trees and the land begins to bear fruit again. But planting a tree in the Sahel, that is not at all the same as planting it in an ordinary garden. The soil here is hard, like asphalt. There is almost no rain. Summer heat reaches 50 degrees. Most seedlings die in the first weeks after planting, if they are not provided with regular watering and constant care. In the early years, the project progressed with difficulty. There was a constant lack of money. Local residents did not always understand why they should plant trees that might die. The governments of several countries treated the initiative formally, reporting on planted trees that did not actually exist. Lack of water also proved to be a serious obstacle. In some areas, groundwater lies at a great depth. Digging wells is expensive. Without irrigation, young trees dried up in a matter of days. New approaches were required, more sensible and less costly solutions. And then, scientists, together with local residents, discovered something striking. It turned out that thousands of roots and seeds are already dormant in the depths of the Sahelian earth. The trees did not disappear anywhere. They simply went underground, waiting for their hour. They just needed to be given a chance to break through to the light. The method was called FMNR, which stands for Farmer Managed Natural Regeneration. Its essence is simple. Instead of planting new trees, peasants began to protect those sprouts that already reach out of the ground themselves. They stopped cutting down young shoots and began to carefully form tree crowns. The result exceeded all expectations. In Niger, one of the poorest countries in the world, more than 200 million trees were restored this way in 20 years. And this happened almost without external funding, through the peasants' own efforts. Scientists called this one of the largest environmental achievements of the 20th and 21st centuries. In Senegal, the picture has also changed. In the north of the country, in the Tis region, lands that were dead sandy wastelands as recently as the 80s are now covered with shrubs and trees. Local women have formed cooperatives and taken up growing fruits and vegetables in the shade of the revived forests. In Ethiopia, they took a different path. The government mobilized millions of citizens for mass tree plantings. In 2019, 350 million trees were planted in one day. This record entered the Guinness World Records. The country set a goal to plant 4 billion trees in one season. Of course, records look impressive. No, but what matters is not the number of trees planted, but how many of them will survive. Critics pointed out that many seedlings in Ethiopia died due to lack of care. Planting a tree and growing a tree, these are fundamentally different things. The fate of the project is decided by what happens after planting. Scientists from different countries began to study what is actually happening along the route of the Great Green Wall. Satellite images confirmed that in several areas, the green cover has indeed become thicker. The most noticeable changes were recorded in Niger, Senegal, and parts of Mali. But the same images also revealed a disturbing picture. In some parts of Burkina Faso and Chad, the situation has worsened. Deforestation continues there, and new plantings do not have time to cover the losses. Wars, poverty, and instability cancel out any long-term undertakings. Armed groups operate in northern Mali and parts of Niger. No reforestation work is possible in conflict zones. People leave villages, abandon fields, and there is no one left to help the trees survive. The Great Green Wall runs through some of the most turbulent regions of the planet. Funding for the project remains a painful topic. According to specialist estimates, about $43 billion are needed to fully complete the Great Green Wall. By 2021, it was possible to collect about $14 billion. Funds come from the European Union, the World Bank, individual states, and private foundations. But the money does not always reach the ground. Part of the funds gets stuck in bureaucratic structures. Part goes to consultants and reports rather than real planting. Local communities often complain that large international organizations have a poor understanding of local conditions and impose solutions that simply do not work in a specific village. The main lesson taught by the Great Green Wall is this: the best results are achieved where the local residents themselves are at the center of everything. When a peasant sees that a tree gives him shade, food, fuel, and protects his field, he himself becomes the guardian of that tree. In Niger, peasants came up with a simple but effective way to save water. On the slopes of hills, they dig small crescent-shaped pits. Rainwater flows into these pits and slowly soaks into the ground, feeding the roots of the trees. This method existed among local peoples for hundreds of years, but was almost forgotten. Women played a huge role in the restoration of the Sahel forests. In many villages, it is they who organize nurseries for seedlings, care for young trees, and protect them from livestock. In Senegal and Burkina Faso, women cooperatives have turned into a real driving force for greening. Young people are also becoming increasingly involved in the project. In several countries, school children are given the task to grow one tree each and observe it throughout the school year. This approach instills a love for nature from childhood and raises a generation that understands the value of every green sprout. Science does not stand still. Scientists are breeding new varieties of trees that can better tolerate drought. Acacia, baobab, moringa, these trees do not just survive in conditions of exhausting heat. They produce fruits, leaves, and bark that people use for food and in traditional medicine. A tree in the Sahel, it is not just a detail of the landscape. It is a source of life. Moringa deserves a special conversation. This tree is called the tree of life. Its leaves are richer in vitamins than most common vegetables. The seeds are capable of purifying water. The roots are used in traditional medicine. In those areas where the Great Green Wall is progressing successfully, moringa has become an important part of the local population diet. In addition to trees, vegetable gardens, orchards, and pastures are being laid out along the route of the wall. The very concept of the project has changed. Now it is no longer just a strip of trees, but an entire green belt uniting fields, forests, water bodies, and pastures. The goal: to create a living ecosystem that simultaneously feeds people and protects the land. Climate change makes the task increasingly urgent. Scientists record that the temperature in the Sahel is rising faster than the global average. Rains are becoming increasingly unpredictable. Sometimes they are absent for months. Then they fall in a torrent and wash away the top layer of soil. Trees help to smooth out these extremes. By 2030, the countries of the African Union set a goal to restore 100 million hectares of degraded land. The figure is colossal. For comparison, the area of all Ukraine is about 60 million hectares. 100 million hectares of new land are capable of feeding tens of millions of people. The climatic role of the project is no less significant. Trees absorb carbon dioxide and help hold back global warming. According to expert estimates, the completed Great Green Wall will be able to sequester about 250 million tons of carbon. This is comparable to the emissions of entire states over several years. The project has attracted the attention of the entire world. Documentary films are made about the Great Green Wall, books are written, and it is discussed at international forums. In 2021, at the Climate Summit in Glasgow, several major powers announced new contributions to the funding of the wall. The project has attracted not only scientists and politicians, but also cultural figures. Musicians, artists, and film directors from all over the world tell the story of the Great Green Wall in their works. Culture and art convey this idea to a wide audience no worse than scientific reports. To date, according to organizations monitoring the project, about 20% of the planned territory has been restored. The pace of work is gradually gaining momentum. In several countries, especially in Niger and Senegal, the results are already visible to the naked eye. Where 20 years ago sand stretched, trees stand today. Local residents tell how life has been transformed where the green belt has already appeared. Wells fill with water again because trees hold moisture in the soil. Harvests have become better because trees shelter the fields from the hot wind. Children no longer choke on the dust storms that used to cover villages several times a year. One of the women from a village in Niger told journalists how she used to go 5 kilometers for firewood and return with nothing. Now trees grow right by her house. Such stories are not just beautiful words. They are living testimony that the project works where it is given the opportunity to work. Of course, 8,000 kilometers cannot be built in 20 years. The scale of the task is enormous. But it is important to understand something else. The Great Green Wall has already changed the lives of millions of people. Even if it is never completed, what has already been done has enormous value. Parallel to the Great Green Wall, dozens of similar initiatives are being implemented across Africa. In Kenya and Tanzania, mangrove forests are being restored on the coast. In Rwanda, large-scale greening of hills is underway. In South Africa, there is a struggle against the desertification of arid regions. The entire continent is slowly but surely turning its face toward nature. The world community increasingly understands that investments in restoring nature are not charity, but a profitable investment. $1 invested in greening degraded lands brings up to $30 in economic returns in the form of food, water, jobs, and public health. The Great Green Wall is also a story of hope. In a world where we are used to hearing alarming news about climate change and the destruction of nature, this project proves that people are capable of fixing what they themselves broke. Not in one day, not without difficulties, but they are capable. So, what is happening to the desert 20 years after the start of the project? The Sahara has not stopped completely. That would be too optimistic an expectation. But where people have taken up the cause seriously, the desert has retreated. The green belt is growing. The land is returning to life. And this is not a beautiful legend, but a documented fact. Subscribe to our channel to learn about the most amazing projects and events of our time. Write in the comments, do you believe that the Great Green Wall will be completed? And do you think other regions of the world could adopt this experience? Your opinion is important to us.